First, let me say how honored I am to stand before you today. It's not every day I get to speak to such an incredible group of people who share the same fire in their belly, the same madness, and the same hunger for success. You know, I remember standing in front of a similar group of people years ago, except back then, no one wanted to listen to me. The only difference between then and now is that I've failed so much, they decided to give me a microphone to tell you what not to do. But today, we're not talking about failure. Well, we will, but not yet. Today, I want to talk about something even more fundamental, knowing your value. You see, when I started Alibaba, I was just a guy with a terrible idea and even worse English. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no technical skills, no money, and no connections. I applied for 30 jobs, and every single one of them said, no thanks. Even KFC rejected me. Now, I don't know about you, but when a chicken restaurant rejects you, that's when you start questioning your value. But here's the thing. KFC may not have seen my value, but I did. I knew my worth. I didn't know much, but I knew that if I believed in myself, others would eventually follow. That's the first lesson. The world won't see your value unless you see it first. Lesson 1, you must believe in your own value before anyone else does. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jack, that's easy to say now that you're rich. Yes, I'm rich today, but that didn't happen overnight. It took me decades of struggle. You want to know the funny thing about entrepreneurship? When you believe in your value, you look ridiculous until you succeed. For years, people laughed at me. Oh, Jack, your English is terrible. Your business idea is a joke. Who's going to buy products online? They didn't understand e-commerce, but I did. You see, entrepreneurs see things others don't. We don't just create businesses, we create value. That's what being an entrepreneur is all about. But you can't create value if you don't know your own. When I looked at Alibaba, I didn't see just a company. I saw a platform that would empower small businesses. I knew my value because I knew my mission. To make it easier for the small guy to compete in a big world. Do you know what your value is? I mean, truly, not what your resume says, not what your title is. I'm asking you deep down, do you know why you're here? Do you know why you wake up every morning with that fire in your chest? Because that's your value. And that value is bigger than money, bigger than success. That value is your purpose. Let me tell you a secret. Money comes and goes. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. But your value, your purpose that stays with you forever. And when you know your value, you don't chase after money. Money chases after you. Believe me, I've been chased by money, and it's much nicer than chasing it yourself. Lesson 2. Your value is not your money, your status, or your success. Your value is your purpose. I remember when I started Alibaba, we had nothing. I'm serious. We were just a bunch of kids working out of my apartment. My friends thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. And sometimes I thought I was crazy too. But I knew my value. I knew what I wanted to create. And it wasn't about getting rich. It was about helping people. I knew if I could create value for others, eventually the value would come back to me. That's the third lesson I want you to remember. It's not enough to just know your value. You have to give value to others. The greatest entrepreneurs aren't the ones who are just in it for themselves. They're the ones who create value for their customers, their employees, their communities. When you help others succeed, you succeed. Think about it. What is your business really doing? Are you just selling products or are you solving problems? Are you creating an experience, a solution, a better way of living? Because if you're just chasing profits, you'll burn out. But if you're chasing impact, you'll thrive. People don't care about your brand until you give them a reason to. They don't care about your company unless it adds value to their lives. Lesson 3, create value for others and value will come back to you. Now let me tell you a story about failure. You know, I'm pretty experienced at failing. In fact, I've failed so many times I've lost count. When we first tried to take Alibaba public in 1999, it was a disaster. Nobody wanted to invest in us. They said we were too small, too inexperienced, too risky. Can you imagine that? Too risky. But you know what I told my team? Don't worry, we're going to be the biggest e-commerce company in the world one day. They laughed, but I wasn't joking. I knew my value. I knew that failure wasn't the end of the road. It was just a detour. Every failure taught me something new. Every rejection was an opportunity to improve. That's why I'm not afraid of failure anymore. In fact, I love it because every time I fail, I get one step closer to success. Lesson 4, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. But here's the thing about failure. It doesn't mean you're worthless. Too many people give up after they fail once or twice because they think it means they're not good enough. Let me tell you, I've failed more times than I can count, and I'm still here. If failure meant I had no value, I would have given up a long time ago. But I knew that every failure was just a lesson in disguise. So the next time you fail, remember this: failure is temporary, but your value is permanent. Your value doesn't disappear because of one bad day, one missed opportunity, or one rejection. Your value is always there, waiting for you to recognize it again. Lesson 5, your value remains even when you fail. Let me ask you something. How many of you are scared right now? Come on, be honest. Scared of the competition, scared of the economy, scared of making the wrong decision? I've been there. I know that feeling. I was terrified when I started Alibaba. Every day was a gamble. I didn't know if we were going to survive, but I knew I had to keep going. Why? Because I knew my value and I knew the value of what we were building. Fear is natural, but you can't let it stop you. Do you know why most people don't reach their full potential? It's not because they're not talented enough or smart enough. It's because they don't know their value, and they let fear control them. They let the world convince them that they're not good enough, not capable enough, not valuable enough. But let me tell you something. The world doesn't decide your value. You do. The moment you stop letting other people define your worth, the moment you stop listening to the doubters and the naysayers, that's the moment you become unstoppable. Lesson 6, fear will always be there, but your value is stronger. I'll be honest with you. There were days when I wanted to quit. There were days when the weight of failure, rejection, and doubt felt like too much. But every time I felt that way, I reminded myself why I started. I reminded myself of my value, my purpose, and that kept me going. You have to find your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you willing to sacrifice so much? Why are you waking up at 5 a.m. every morning while everyone else is sleeping? If you don't know your why, you'll never survive the tough days. You'll never push through the challenges, the failures, the sleepless nights. But if you know your value, if you know why you're doing this, nothing can stop you. Lesson 7, know your why and your value will carry you through. Now, I want to talk about something a little more personal. It's easy to stand on this stage and talk about success. But what about the moments when you're alone? What about the moments when you feel like you're not enough? When you feel like you're failing as a leader, as a business person, as a human being? I've been there too. There were times when I felt like I was letting everyone down. Times when I questioned my own value. But here's the truth. No matter how successful you become, no matter how much money you make, there will always be moments of doubt. Moments when you wonder if you're good enough, if you're worthy. But in those moments, you have to remember this. Your value doesn't come from what you achieve. It comes from who you are. You are valuable because you're unique. You have a vision, a purpose, a fire inside you that no one else has. And that makes you irreplaceable. Lesson 8, your value is not defined by what you achieve. It's defined by who you are. So, my friends, as you leave this room today, I want you to remember one thing. You are valuable. Not because of your success, not because of your wealth, not because of your title. You are valuable because you have something unique to offer the world. Something that no one else can. Know your value, believe in it, and never let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you.